Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Thursday, January 15th, 2026. Look at that, guys. We're already halfway through the month, which, like I said, I think is going to be ultimately a really good thing that this year goes by quickly. I'm trying not to be too ominous about it, but yeah, I think that we need to make sure that we're finding joy and finding the happy moments when we can. And today, I want to go over something that I think is pretty fun, pretty happy. Yesterday, I interviewed Zuhaira Talbi, who has been a citizen for a while, but recently became eligible to run with an American flag next to his name when it comes to like race results. He's still not allowed to compete internationally for Team USA, but he can like compete in like USATF events. And I think it has to deal with like US Federation stuff and then World Athletics administrative stuff. But anyway, he ran a 2:05 in Houston, one of the fastest American times ever. And then on the same day, his wife ran a 2:35. So we talked about I think they might be one of the fastest marathon couples out there. And I posted about it as well. And then, because I thought I had a pretty good list, but people gave me a lot of new names to think about, stuff, people that I knew about, some people who I'd never heard of, some that were a surprise to me. So we could talk all about that. And then we'll go over what else I have for that list too, because I've been updating my fastest known YouTubers list. So we can go through all of that today. So it'll be spreadsheet madness today. Plus we'll talk about some shoes I've been running in. But before we get into that, let's say hi to everyone listening on the audio only version on the podcast. Hopefully spreadsheet madness still translate in an audio only format. But either way, hope you're enjoying your run, staying warm. I think for half the country, it's frigid cold. The other half of the country, it's like balmy gorgeous. So hopefully you're on the balmy gorgeous side. But if not, hope you got hand warmers. And for everyone else watching this later but not live, welcome to the #1 drive time radio show for runners. Hopefully folding laundry is going well today. All right. Rabbi Benjamin David checking in from Philly. What's up, good people? What's going on, Rabbi Benjamin David? I'm sure, I'm guessing it's pretty cold for where you guys are. JC is here, says hello all. And Sean Devlin is thankful for the distraction of the live stream today. Too much doom scrolling at work. No bueno. Yeah, so I posted the fastest marathon couples. And now this is not a YouTube list, but which I think the YouTube list of marathon couples would be pretty short. But I think a fun one would be fastest. But then how would you do fastest? If we did like runner couples, because then if you've got like sprinters, and then you've got marathoners, that's a weird, I don't know how to do that. But the couples list is not YouTube related. My other lists are YouTube related. So it's fun. But anyway, I was going to post that list on Threads, and then I opened Threads and everything is terrible. I mean, there's uplifting stories and stuff, but uplifting stories in light of terrible things that are happening. So, yeah, I know what you mean, Sean. Senior Grandmaster Runner Dan says, it's 55 here in North Colorado. It feels like springtime. Yeah, today my run was like 20 degrees, feels like 8 or something like that. It was cold. But it was weird. I had a workout today. I did a fartlek run. Let's talk about it. I did a fartlek in the Endorphin Pro 5. And I worked out really well. It was a great shoe to have for today. 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. And I had a Gore-Tex jacket on. Not a Gore-Tex, a Gore-Wear jacket. They're Infinium series jackets, which are really nice. Very lightweight, very thin, but keep you warm. And mittens, and then tights. And like parts of me were sweating, other parts of me were freezing, and it was just kind of a weird weather day. But I ran in the Endorphin Pro 5. I think I'm done with my testing with it. I did a steady run in them earlier in the week, and then I did a fartlek today. I think that gives me a good sense of this is pretty much exactly the same shoe as last year. I mean, calling in an upper update is probably the best I could say. Which, Nothing wrong with an upper update. I've been saying that for years. Like if you don't want to do a yearly update, but you also don't want to wait 2 years in between updates, just do an upper update. That's fine. Yeah, but this one feels pretty much the same. If someone were to say, hey, I think that they firmed up the midsole just a little, I wouldn't disagree, but I'm not sure if that's actually true or not. Kind of hard to tell. But yeah, that was a good shoe review. Hopefully I'll have that review done tomorrow. I got a lot of work to do on it, but I think I'd like to get it out tomorrow for my scheduling, you know. All right. Parker Willett says, if I did a couples list by the sum of their world ranking, then it's more distance agnostic. I like that. You know why else I like that? I like that because I was thinking, you know, on all my lists, every time I publish one, everyone's like, oh, well, what about so-and-so? And I'm like, they're retired. And my rules, arbitrary rules are like, just got to be not retired to be on the list. And the reason for that is I like churn, you know, I like that it's constantly being updated and it's not like, all right, here's the list. It's pretty much set in stone. Because some of these records are never going to be broken or people aren't going to run faster than that. And so it just won't change. I find that a little bit boring. So I like churn. So if it's world rankings change all the time, right? And so the other thing I was thinking of, and this would require a lot more work, is do I do a yearly fastest known YouTubers? And so like at the end of the year, I go through my list and I see what everyone, like you had to have run a marathon that year to be on the list. I've been thinking about doing that, but that just seems like a lot more work. But I like it has to constantly be current aspect of that. Senior Grandmaster Runner Dan says, Spencer Brown and Ali Ostrander are the fastest short distance couple. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you mean by short. Because I feel like, I'm thinking like Nikki Hiltz and Emma Gee are very, very fast. And I think that they might be faster, depending on like how we're measuring fast. You know, if we're doing world rankings, I don't know, they still might be faster. So it's an interesting one. I did think about them, but I was like, I don't think either of them have run a marathon before. And Frank says, Adam and Mika Wood seem like the easy winner of the fastest YouTube marathon couple. All right, well, Frank, that's kind of what I thought they'd be really high up there. But let's go to the spreadsheet. I think it's time for the spreadsheet. So here's what I have now. I had some help. Apparently, there was a Let's Run article about this very topic, which made me like instantly a lot less interested in pursuing this. But I'm like, again, I like currency and I like churn. So like, let's see who's new. There's gonna be new runners on here. I don't know when that Let's Run article was. I haven't seen it. I have no desire to see it. But some people have been giving me some results, I think, from there. I think that's where these are coming from. So the fastest marathon couple is Tamarat Tola and Dara Dita. I mean, if you've got one person in your group of your pairing at 2:03, I mean that puts you pretty high up. And then there's two Japanese couples, Kengo Suzuki and Mayo Ichiyama. And then Akira Akazaki and Yuka Suzuki. And then the Haugers, and then / Hauger Thackeray's, which as soon as I like published my list, I was like, oh, I forgot about the Haugers. But they've got some pretty fast times on there too. 4:31 total time. And then Lauren Hagens messaged me, and then she did also comment on the post. And she's like, hey, you should put Bia and I on the list. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you guys were together. And she's like, yeah, they don't talk about it a lot on social media, but they're not hiding it. And so, yeah, they've been together for like 3 years, she says. So cool. Yeah. And then after that, I'm sorry, I was just reading some of the chat. And then the Collies, which I knew about them. I think are they recently married? Because I know Tristan as Tristan Van Ord. I I didn't know that she was Tristan Colley. So like I knew these athletes, but I didn't know that they were married to each other. But Andrew Colley's a sub 210 guy, and Tristan is a 225 runner. So 435 total for them. So actually, Mika and Adam are currently last on my list. I mean, I haven't done a deeper dive. I'm sure I could go even deeper. One funny comment was from Montana Popane, and he commented and he tagged Dakota and he was like, "I'm sorry, I let us down." That was really funny. And then Dakota replied and said, "You are my boat anchor." Heart emoji, anchor emoji. That was super funny. So yeah. So they're with their Adam's 216 and Mika's 231. They're at 448. But the whole reason I made the list was for Zuhair Talbi and his wife Elizabeth Talbi, who ran a 205 and a 235, and they come in at 441. So they're kind of middle of the pack on this list, which is a crazy, crazy fast list. Mark Peterson says like, oh, okay, yeah. All right. Rabbi Benjamin David says, what about Ben and Steph Bruce? They're on my emeritus list. So, yeah. So I have Ryan Hall. I thought that Ryan Hall and Sarah Hall would be like no one could ever beat them. But it turns out a lot of people were faster than them. I guess not a lot. Two pairs were faster than them, which is two more than I thought would ever happen. But Ben Bruce, which I couldn't find a marathon PB for him, like an official one. Like they have a website because they do a run camp, and so it's like Steph Bruce, the 227 marathoner. So I was able to find like the exact seconds, and I always go to the seconds because that way that tells me that I have researched it and verified, like either on a race results or on like the World Athletics athlete profile page, that is something, and I'm not just like repeating something someone else said. For Ben Bruce, the fastest one I could find was a 221.56. No one corrected me on that, so I think that's it. Stevie766, Kofuzi and his wife versus Bench and his wife. I don't think either of our wives have run a marathon before. I mean, I know my wife has not, and I don't think his wife has. So that'd be pretty fun. I guess we should put. I guess we could put Thomas and Megan on here. That'd be. I mean, they are a marathon couple, and I think that what's the reason I wouldn't do that to like embarrass them, but I would do that because then that would encourage other people to be like, oh, okay, well, we're not just talking about pros. Who else do we know that is a marathoning couple? And I think that could get interesting, So, but I mean, it's kind of only interesting if you know who they are too. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with that one. And Frank says, I wonder who the fastest same-sex couples are. So, like, I did post on my, when I posted about this did I post it? I don't remember. I think I posted on both threads and on Instagram that, like, I'm not necessarily looking for married couples. Like, if you want to call it, like, I think, like, they just have to be together, but currently together. Because I guess in theory, I mean, I don't know why I care or drawing the distinction, but I'm like, I don't want to list it if they were together when they ran these PB. I don't want to have to worry about that. So as long as you're currently together, that's all I care about. And then I left a note saying like all kinds of couples will be considered. So I don't, it doesn't necessarily have to be a man and wife kind of thing, Yeah, Agent 45 says fastest couples 3-legged race. Okay, I don't know about that, but here's something I was thinking about on my workout today. And so I was thinking here's an event that I want to try to pull off, and I feel like between now and the trials, I gotta start making friends, or become more friendly with some of the husbands or partners of fast marathoning women. Because what I would love to do is, inspired by the high school tradition of having like the weight man's relay, where you get the shot putters and the discus throwers to do like a 4x1. I'm thinking that at the trials, I would like to have like a husband's relay or like something like that. I think that that would be super super fun. And I think that we should, I mean, maybe there'll be a pro division and then a not pro division because I think some of the husbands and significant others might be pro runners. But I guess like when they did the marathon relay at the New Balance track, like they just put pros and there was it's a pro am, a mix, you know. But I'm gonna try and figure out. I would like to figure out a way to have an event where it's the husbands, because like I feel like Montana and Propane would be down. I feel like that would be fun. And then I'm like, maybe because I was thinking about Annie Frisbee too, and I'm like, oh, I don't think Drew Patel's ever run a marathon, but I'm like, maybe Drew Patel would be down. I feel like I could convince him. I've never met him before. I may have met him in like passing before, but I've never really talked to him. But I feel like that could be something worth pursuing. I think that'd be really fun. And then maybe we get some more people from the emeritus list. Maybe I could get Andrew Castor to join in, although his wife wouldn't technically be competing at the OTQ, but he would be welcome. So that's something that's something that I'm thinking about. So that is a long-term vision. From now, I've got like basically about 2 years to get that figured out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Tony, I was thinking about you guys today. I was like, all right, I gotta go figure. I mean, if you guys want to make it easy for me, you can message me your PRs, including seconds. But I was like, all right, I gotta figure out Tony and Nadia's, because yeah. So the list is still ongoing, for sure. Stevie76 says, I literally yelled at Talby at mile 22. Your wife is on pace for a 2:36 OTQ. Stevie, I was thinking about you today because tell me if I'm wrong on this. I watched Alia Ostrander post something today where someone was running beside her in Houston. And it was so distracting that she like looked over and made eye contact, it seemed, and then kind of smiled and then kept running. Was that you? I feel like I was like, this seems like a Stevie clip. I feel like that was you. You have to let me know. Parker, well, it says Jim Walmsley and Jess Brazil. Has she run? I know Jim Walmsley has run a road marathon time. Has Jess run a road marathon time? You'll have to let me know. Like, message me if you think that's true. Because that's a hard thing. Because like I've also tagged Eli Hemming. Because when I was looking at fastest known YouTubers on the men's side, I was like, I know I put Tabor Hemming. I know is fast as a marathoner. And because I think she ran Boston last year, or was it the year before? So I knew she had a road marathon result. And I know Eli's fast, and I know he comes from the road because he did triathlon. But I haven't been able to find a marathon time for him. So I tagged him in the post to see if maybe he could confirm or I guess not deny, but confirm either way whether he has made done a marathon. And I specified not triathlon marathon. And the main reason for that is just because then I don't want to have to dig through triathlon results for everybody. It's just easier if I can find a specific road result. Yeah. For Vanessa Martinez, would it be limited to husbands? I would say any spouse of a female runner. I would say any partner. So like if your partner is running in the women's Olympic marathon trials, that's how I would open it to that. And if they want to participate. And part of me is like, I don't want to make it too, I want to still keep it fun. But part of me is like, all right, so for the relay, should it be like a who's going to carry the coats situation? And so as a relay baton, you have to carry it like the tub like a tub that they would give at like a track meet where the athletes put like all their warm up stuff in, and so that would be something like a tub full of warm up gear. Maybe is the relay, but that might make it a little bit too silly, a little too campy. But I just think it'd be fun. Um, a little bit of levity in a very serious weekend. But yeah, I think it'd be fun. JC says it's a made for YouTube event. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I could pull. I don't know how I could pull it off. See, it'd be easy. So if it's like if Megan Murray OTQs, that makes it easy because then I'm like I know Thomas would be in. He'd be down for that. You know what I mean? Probably won't be able to get Adam Wood because hopefully he'll also be racing, so he wouldn't really want to be in on that. But so I'm like trying to build my roster already. I'm trying to think of how we're gonna do it. Yeah. Martha says, "How about the fastest run caddy for 100 meters? Mine ran in 11 seconds when he was in school." Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I think something along those lines, something that's just fun, yeah. But something that's also not going to put any kind of pressure on any of the athletes that are competing. Oh, and CB says that is me with Elio. I knew it. I knew that had to be you. I knew that had to be you. Oh my gosh. How did I know that? That's so funny. Yeah, Stevie says, are there rumors for the OTQ site for 2028? Adam said that St. Louis is bidding for the marathon trials. I feel like that's a rumor, but it's also, I don't know. No one has denied the rumor either. So I just feel like that's probably true, but no one can officially confirm it. And I was also thinking about, because I was thinking about like where are we going to do, if it's in St. Louis where we do it, probably do it somewhere in Forest Park. But depending on where it is, I don't want anyone to have to travel really far. So I was like, oh, I don't know. That'd be really funny to do it on the grounds of like the St. Louis Arch, but then you'd be so close to it, you wouldn't see the arch when you're doing any of this stuff. But anyway, but also I was like, if the trials are in St. Louis, I'm like, we should just all crash at Shannon's house. That's what I thought. Johnny Johnson says marathon couple Aaron Azar and husband Dan. That's definitely one we have to add on there. That's fun. I like that a lot. Because then I was also thinking like, well, like Kate South Keene, her husband. I've never met her husband, but I'm like, doesn't he run? I feel like he runs. I don't know. Rabbi Benjamin David said Phoenix submitted a bid to host. I would love it if it were in Phoenix as well. I would love it if it were in St. Louis. St. Louis would be fun because then I could go revisit a lot of places, and I haven't been back to St. Louis in a really long time. Oh yeah, CV76. Mika would be running for Peru, so Mika wouldn't be running. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, Phoenix would be awesome for a host city. I'm still very open to the idea of Chattanooga. I don't know what happened to the Chattanooga bid from the last time. I also feel like, why are we not doing it in LA? Can the Olympic Planning Committee and USATF just get together? It's not that far. You know what I mean? Like at some point they have to make a marathon route. How much earlier do they need to move people, like get people moving to make it so that way the trials route can be the marathon route? You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, Tony says Matt Klein from Doctors Are Running and his wife Regina. He's sub 240 if I remember correctly, and she OTQ'd. Oh, for real? I didn't know that. I need some paper. Okay. We got to add Tony and Nadia. We got to add Thomas and Megan. Then Aaron and Dan. Have I told you guys the story? The first time I met Aaron Azar, her handle is I am Mrs. Space Cadet. I did not meet Dan the first time. It was only Aaron, and we met at TRE. It was the year where you still had to mask up inside. And so I'm talking to her, and I'm like, is your husband an astronaut? And she's like, why would you say that? I'm like, you are Mrs. Space Cadet. So is your I thought your husband was Mr. Space Cadet. But she's like, no, I'm just a space cadet and I'm a Mrs. So I was like, oh, okay. She's like, but he is in the military. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Um, but yeah, and then I've since met Dan many times. Nice guy, I like him a lot. Okay, Matt and Regina Klein. Okay, all right, got a lot of people to add. Oh, aren't Sarah and Tom from the Running Channel a thing? I believe that they are. But like maybe if they maybe self-identify, because I don't want to put pressure on people. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is a nice, easy barometer to mark, and then there's another running couple that's out there, but that I think is very pretty obvious. But like I very rarely see them together, and they don't talk about their relationship. And I know that they're both pros, so they have different schedules. So I'm not saying anything like that, but like, I'm like, they don't talk about their relationship that much. So maybe they just don't want it to be discussed that often. And so I'm happy to leave that out there. But so like, if Sarah and Tom want to be on the list, I'm happy to put them on the list. But I'm gonna leave them out for now. Mark says, has Finley run a full marathon? Oh, that's a good question. I don't think that he has. Finley seems like the guy who would be angry if you asked him about it. Not in a mean way. He'd be like, why would I do that? That's kind of what I think he would say. But I'll ask him. Calvin says no way. Steve hasn't run one. I'll send him a message and see. Let's see if he has. Oh yeah, Ben Perks and Sarah. Do I have Sarah on my, here? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at another list I got. So on this same sheet, let's do it this way. No, this way. So on this same sheet, I guess I could type it in as we're going here, but I already started writing down. I also have my women's list of fastest known YouTubers, and I think I put her on here. Yeah, she's here. 3:19:19 is what I have for her marathon PB. So yeah. Patrick says that Steve Finley's World Athletics page doesn't show a marathon. I know, but if like he had if he had retired and then let's say like at some point he just decided I'm gonna also run the New York Marathon one year, you know what I mean? Like would that show up? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I think, but yeah, I'll have to add Ben and Sarah for sure. I think that they'd be of the non-pros. I think they'd actually be pretty high. But yeah. But yeah, so like I don't have like my men's list has gotten really long, but my women's list has kind of stalled out, and I don't know that there's a lot. And I had a conversation with related to this is like I had a conversation with Ashley Mateo. I don't know if she's writing an article for Runner Mag about it, but she was doing some research and she just touched base. And she was like, are there not a lot of women YouTubers, like shoe reviewers out there? And I was like, yeah, no, there's not a lot. And I was like, I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but there just aren't. And even on the YouTube channel side of not shoe reviewers, but running content, there's still not as many. But yeah. Yeah. And then the men's list, just to round out the day, the men's list has gotten really crazy long. I was keeping all of these on like a little note, like on my iPhone, but it just started getting really long that I had to start doing something else because I just couldn't handle it anymore. All right. So right now I have the list. It goes to like 80 something people, but let's go to just like number 20. Michael Oddison. Why does it say Modison? Michael Oddison is number 20 right now, at 215.20. So you need to have a 215 to even hit the top 20 list on this. And then Luis Orta, I almost took him off the list because he did make a retirement announcement the other day. But he announced that he's retiring from cross country. And he said that he is, because I think he just ran in the World Cross Champs. And he said he's retiring from cross country and now he's going to focus. He'll still be running half marathons and marathons or something like that. Yeah. And Vanessa says, every time I look up a shoe review, it's usually a guy and they are usually of a particular persuasion. There are a couple of women, but more are needed. I agree. I think a lot of them are writing or are part of teams, but not a lot of solos, what I'd say. And look at this. We've got from Midlife Runner. All right, we can update this list in real time. Because you are on the list, my friend. 250.17 at Houston. Oh my goodness. All right. So let me show you how far this list goes down. I have it. Where are you already? Andrew Bosa was 256.37. Now it's a 250.17. Oh, Jesus. Crazy. So that puts you in front of Cam Hanes. Whoa, that's fun. I love this. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really cumbersome with how to move stuff on Google Sheets. So, I know I'm making a lot of you guys mad. But yeah, so look at that. You're at number 72 now. I mean, if you run like a minute faster, you'll be in front of Alex Felidi. You'd be faster than Alvin Ma, who has a fantastic YouTube channel, by the way, very underrated. I really like his videography skills. So, yeah. So there we go. Paul Pollock says, "What about Sage and Sandy? Has Sandy run a road marathon? If she has, let me know. I'd be happy to put her on there." And then, although, yeah, because she's still running. So, like, I'm trying to think from a retirement perspective. Killian and Emily, I didn't know that she ran. I knew she was a runner. I'll have to see if there's marathon times, though. If you guys have marathon times, like, it'd be helpful if you guys could send them to me, like letting me know where they are. Or like where I could look, because that just makes it a lot easier. Frank says it sucks that it's so hard to be a woman YouTuber. I agree. I always try to support, and I can totally understand why. Because there's just so many reasons. One is just not a great environment a lot of the time, and I will say that not only for the sake of women YouTubers, I will say for the sake of every YouTuber, we need a function where if someone writes a comment, we could see other things that they've commented on. I feel like we need to know what other trash people are writing. I can see some things as a creator, but only on other videos of mine that a person has commented on. But I think we need more tools to be able to like be transparent about who people are and what other kinds of things they're writing around the internet. Yeah. Duke BB wants to know, does Midlife Runner's wife run marathons? I've met her before, but that was a little while ago. So, things escalate really quickly when it comes to running. So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. Yeah, Frank says Houston was just amazingly fast. I know. I really wish that I could have been there. Here's what I told you what happened in terms of why I'm not there. Mm, yeah. Mm. Tio Daniel Estrella says, think the couple to watch out for is Joe and Sage Klecker. Once Sage moves up, it's going to be scary. Do you think she's going to move up to the marathon? I don't think that she's going to move to the marathon. Um, I mean, she's an 800, 1500 person. It's a long way to go. Right? I would love to see it. Oh, CV76 says this messy happy. Yeah, I got to get them in there too. I only started putting it together, like the list together this morning, and I was mainly focused on the pros. But now I have to like switch gears in my mind and talk about, all right, who else is on the internet that I know? Yeah, interesting. Adam says, what about Andrea from Doctors Running? I gotta tell you, number one, I've met some of the people on Doctors of Running, and I listen every week. But I don't have to say that podcast is probably the most frustrating podcast for me because every opinion that they tend to have, I so strongly disagree with. And I think it's because a lot of them are stability runners or heel strikers or both. But I tend to disagree with Andrea the least. And she may be my favorite doctor on Doctors of Running. No offense to the other doctors who I've met personally. I haven't met Andrea before. But yeah. What does her husband run? Calvin says, I tend to agree with Andrea's experience with shoes. Well, she's also a Beacon fan, right? So I feel like that scores you a lot of points in my book, you know? Midlife Runner says, my wife is allergic to running. She is a Pilates girly. She was a really good sport when she came out to the Shakeout Run. Was that 2 years ago? So it was good. Was that 2 years ago? Maybe it was 3 years ago. But it was good. It was good to see her. It was good to meet her. James SP Sparky says, props to Rory and him becoming the first Canadian to run a half under an hour. It seems like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, surely someone else has done that, right? But even in the U.S., there aren't that many that have gone under an hour, right? Because didn't Casey Klinger run under an hour? And they were like, he's like there's less than 10, right? Or something like that. So I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, under an hour is fast. I remember the first year I went to Houston, I ran it. And then the next year I went, I watched it. And it shocked me that, like, I remember watching Cheserek run the half. And he came in at, like, 61 or 62. And that was good for 9th. And I was like, what is going on here in Houston? And ever since then, I've been just in love with Houston. Because I'm like, everyone comes. Or everyone that I know, that I follow comes. And then the race is also just incredibly fast. So it's amazing. But he just took the record, obviously, since he's the first Canadian to run under an hour for the half. Was it Ben Flanagan that had the record before? Because like he had it, then Ben took it, and then he took it back. Am I getting the order on that right? I think we're done with the spreadsheet for now. But yeah. Mark Johnson says, Andrea from Doctors Running is also a fan of the OG Hyperion Max, which gives you a lifetime credit in my book. You know what's funny about those shoes? Like shoes like that? Like I love the original Hyperion Tempo. That was one of my favorite shoes at the time. And I'm just like, if I ran in some of those now, I think I'd be like, what is this? This is garbage. But, you have to understand them in the context of the times. So, yeah. Oh, James said that Cam Levins had it. Okay. So did Ben Flanagan ever have it? Okay. Cam Levins also ran in Houston as well. It was star-studded. There were so many people there. A lot of PRs, I think, in Houston as well. Yeah. And then Calvin says, I still reminisce about the Moore version 4. That was a good one. I had the New York City edition. Yeah, I love that shoe. It was good. Martha says, I relate to Andrea's taste as well. So it seems like we've got a lot of Andrea fans on here. Maybe I need to get her. I've tried getting any of the doctors are running to come on the live stream, but it's been difficult because they are all doctors of physical therapy and have real jobs. And so they can't come to a live stream at 1:00 on a Monday or Thursday. And I think some of them are on the West Coast. A lot of them are on the West Coast, I think. I don't know where they are. But anyway, it's either 1 p.m. or earlier, I think, for them. And so, like, yeah, that's prime physical therapy time, probably. And so it's been hard to connect with them. But maybe I'll just have to do a standalone interview of Andrea. Yeah. Costa, sounds like y'all should do a podcast together. Yeah. Stevie76 says, speaking of doctors, what happened to Dr. Josh? I just heard from Dr. Josh the other day. He's doing good. He was a volunteer in Florida. So he reached out. He's like, are you going to be in Tallahassee? And I was like, oh, unfortunately not. He's like, oh, that's a bummer. He was hoping to connect because he was there working in like treating the athletes and stuff like that. I think like in terms of like if anyone needed any body work done, massages, things like that. So he was down there on like medical team. I don't know. Is that considered medical team? I'm not sure. Whatever that's considered. But he was there. He was there working the event, which I thought looked pretty fun. And Martha says, PT Talk reminds me of Bob and Brad. I miss them. I miss them too. And it's really weird to me because it seems like Bob and Brad, like the merch like the product company still very much exists. And I am in a deep rabbit hole of British running YouTube. And it seems like there's been a big push to get Bob and Brad products in front of British audiences. And so the British running YouTubers have all been talking about Bob and Brad stuff. I'm like, do they even know these are the most famous physical therapists on the internet? Do they even know? They have not been, like some of these kids, Cole is running has not been around long enough to know, I think, what Bob and Brad is, you know? Maybe he does. I don't know. But yeah. Mike says they still have a channel. It's just a new guy with a really high voice. It's not showing up on my feeds anymore, which I'm not really looking for physical therapy stuff that much these days. But it's good to know that there's still a channel. But I love the banter of the old two guys. Or the original two guys, you know. Yeah. Calvin says Bob and Brad is better than Hype Rice and Normatec. I agree. I mean, I have multiple Bob and Brad guns. I don't know how I have multiple, but my daughter now, she got her own that my wife bought for her. I don't know why my wife bought one, because we have like 2 Bob and Brad guns in the house, and then a third one somewhere. And so basically there's one that lives in the living room, like on a bookshelf in the living room, and there's one that lives in my closet. So no matter what floor of the house that I'm in, there is a Bob and Brad massage gun nearby. Paul Public says Cole running is some kind of qualified therapist, so he might know. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that what his other job was. Oh, interesting. Matt Byer says, I've been watching some Bob and Brad videos the last couple of days for exercise for my current ankle fracture. Oh, okay. Hopefully it's been helpful. Yeah. And Martha says, I'll never unsee Hype Rice. I still see it. In the beginning, I was mispronouncing it on purpose, but now when I see it, I say hype rice, not hyper ice. I don't know. I don't know. Mm, yeah. Yeah, Kyle Patton says, old man shakes massage gun. It's like old man waves fist at cloud kind of thing, you know? Mm, yeah. Mm, all right. I think that's going to be a good place to leave it for today, guys. It's been a rough week for me. Not rough. My wife's been traveling this week, so I've just had a lot on my plate. Um, because she carries a lot of weight around here too. And so now I've had to carry all the weight for this week. So I'm getting a little tired and behind on stuff. So I'm going to get going. This week, is anyone running? I think Rose Bowl Half Marathon is this weekend, right? So is anyone running that? If you are, good luck to you guys. Anyone else running? I hope you have a good race, or if you're just getting in a long run, be safe out there. And I'll see you guys Monday. Well, I'm going to work on a game because it's been so long since we played a game. So hopefully over the weekend I'll have a nice, fun game that we can all play together. Maybe it'll be Monday, maybe it'll be next Thursday, but next week for sure. All right. Take care of yourselves out there, guys. Bye.